and welcome to Let's Go Speaks. Today is Tuesday, January 7th, and this is episode 262. It's 2020! I'm Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry and the Fat SQRRL on Instagram. Welcome to the new year, y'all. Right? Are you ready for it? I'm ready for it. I don't do resolutions, really. I mean, one thing I want to try to work on this year, which I've made notes to myself in several places, is apologizing for things that don't necessarily need apologizing for. I'm not off to the greatest start. But I really need to try to work on the I'm sorry. As I was listening to Hey Brownberry's talk. Aww. Mars is a lovely podcast. She's teaching everywhere. She's the fanciest lady. I was listening to her talk at Vogue Knitting Live Columbus 2019. That's a lot of words. And she talked about trying to reframe a lot of our thought processes. And one of those is the I'm sorry. And I totally fall into the I'm sorry all the time. And I need to work on that. And I don't need to just work on the words I'm saying. That's not the point. The thing I need to work on is the presence I have behind those words, right? Like I need to be aware on a daily basis that I am human and that in fact we are all humans, and that being sorry for something that is human is not necessarily something I should be sorry for. Does that make sense? And like that, it kind of dilutes sorry. Right? Like it dilutes the power of that apology if I apologize for everything. So I'm just talking through my thought process with you, because we're having coffee, having tea. I'm having English breakfast with Florida orange with ginger drop because, menopause nausea is a real thing. What? Did anybody tell you that? Lady talk. People with ovaries talk, or people who had ovaries at some point talk. Yeah, nausea, menopause. Let me just discuss. I thought menopause was hot flashes and maybe some dryness in the nethers. Apparently it's 9 million things, y'all. Your tiny little ovaries, they're so little. They're powerhouses, yo. They're powerhouses. I just had to stop myself from a rabbit hole, so I don't know where that's going to edit out, but just let's ride on, shall we? Let's ride the snake. So yeah, nausea. I mean, it makes sense, like pregnancy nausea, I guess. But that's because you have a thing. Okay, stop. Let's move on with the podcast, shall we? Oh my goodness. So today's episode will contain, I don't think I have any shenanigans of interest. I will have finished objects and some knitting. I mean, that's the stuff I do normally, right? I don't think I have any shenanigans of note. I mean, I've had a pleasant few weeks. I definitely have not done very much because that sounded really good, right? Sounded good to not do much. I'm enjoying my not doing much. Oh, before I forget, this is the Busta Beanie. Except I always call it the Busta Beanie because I like to want to pretend I'm Busta Rhymes or something. But this is the Busta Beanie by, come on, Ysolda Teague. It was right there. It was one of the free patterns for Shetland Wool Week. And it's highly enjoyable. This one I knit in actually sport weight because it's a free pattern. It's available in one size, and I have a giant noggin, and I don't love a super tight hat. Now this hat is still snug, but I knit it in sport weight. This is Swans Island Sport, and let me just discuss. That's a higher end of my comfort budget yarn, and I love it. Just saying. I went to Broad Ripple Knits, which is one of those knitting stores here in Indianapolis that I don't get to very often because even though it's like a mile from me, it takes an hour and a half to get there. That's not true. But it kind of feels like that. It's like in a part of town that I never have to go to. Or if I do have to go there, it's because I'm getting my daughter, and so there's not like, you know what I mean? You know, that just happens. But it was a lovely store, and I really do need to make it there often. Or make it there often. Make it there more often. Did I say all those words together? But maybe I don't, because they do have everything I want. They have all of the Loft, all of the Arbor, all the Brooklyn Tweed yarns. They have all of the... I have so many good woolly yarns, and then they had some Swans Island Sport, which I have not seen in a long time in person, and they have it in that ochre color. I love that ochre color so much. And I only bought one skein, and then I was like, why didn't I just buy every skein they had? And I was like, oh yeah, because dollars. But whatever. Just living my ochre life here. Just saying, like, my New Year's resolution is just to be a badger in my little badger hole with a library of books around me and lots of knitting and ochre yarn. Now, I probably can't turn into a badger. So, you know, I've already ruined my New Year's resolution. But that's just the energy I'm going to take into 2020. And let's not lie, that's the energy I take into every year. Life goals, badger. Just saying. How did we get off on that? I say we like you're with me. Like you were part of the, like, you know what I mean? Like you forced us off into that trail. It was clearly just me. You were along with the ride because you're lovely and patient and very polite. And thank you for that. Oh, the Swans Island. Oh, Swans Island. So yeah, this is so pretty. I bought this yarn actually at Mass Ave Knits, but they don't have Swans Island anymore. Okay. So this week, yeah, these couple of weeks. Gustav, what are you doing? Oh, you're so suspicious. So I've done. So like in business, since we're talking about business, because I talked about my hat. Since we're talking about business, I will draw for prizes next time if you donated to the. I say the word donated. I don't like that word because it does imply like 5013 status, but 503. What are those numbers? It implies that charitable organization status, and that's not what I mean. Thank you to folks who contributed to the podcast during the fourth quarter of 2019. I'm going to do prizes next time. We're going to have some amazing tea towels and another prize I'll tell you about when I get to the thing I'm talking about that kind of involves that prize. But I'll do those next time. So for folks who contributed to the podcast, Patreon, PayPal, or Ko-Fi, or any number of other ways. Actually, I think those are the 3 ways. I will do that next time. I just don't have my list yet from Patreon. Okay. Business. So I still have pre-orders up in the shop. I'll probably have them up through the end of the week. Or maybe a few days longer, because maybe I'll try to do it through the weekend. So for folks who watch the podcast over the weekend and are like, oh, I forgot. All right. Kittens and house coats, you all. And with awesome boots. Sweater and large wedge size. They're on the shop right now. Pre-orders usually take 4 to 6 weeks. So yeah, that's there. And I'll do more orders soon, but I don't have a schedule yet. Okay, so now let's talk about stuff. Okay. So New Year's brought a bunch of mending. I'm not sure how that happened. I don't know if it just... I think we were doing tidying. And so like during tidying, do you get all your mending that comes up? So I had a bunch of mending that I worked on. I mended a couple of pairs of pants for Tova. Is that right? Did I lie? Oh, Gustav. Some underpants. Because of Gustav. I mended several pairs of socks. I actually mended a pair of my husband's socks. I am not upset that he does not like handmade socks. In fact, I gave him a pair of handmade socks like before our daughter was born. And he did not care for them. And trust me, I've not tried to give him another pair because I don't want to have to knit him socks. I wouldn't mind. But maybe, let's not push it. Also, he's so particular. He's not fun to knit for because it's like knitting to spec. Like it's I need to make him another hat right now, and I'm just like, I don't know if our marriage can handle it. I might need to wait. I don't know if our marriage can handle it in the depth of winter. Maybe we should go on a vacation and then I can knit you a hat or something. It's just so particular. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, so I knitted a pair of his like commercial socks. Because like he's just like the place that he bought them from Gander Mountain several years ago. Like that's where he got all the socks for the longest period of time. And now they're closed, and so we've tried several other socks and they're just not right. So I spent like hours mending a pair of commercial socks, which is fine because they are just as important to him as handmade ones, but it was really like, oh my God. I don't mind to mend holes when they're smaller than a quarter. When they become bigger than a quarter, I do not enjoy mending them. Not fun. So I did a bunch of that, and then I had a pair of socks that I put on. Oh, excuse me. I had a pair of socks that I put on, and it's hand spun from Knit Spin Farm, and it's her Sport Targhee, which I don't understand why I don't have more pairs of that. What have I done wrong? I need to get more pairs of that. Anyway, I think it's because I don't wear them in shoes a lot. I can wear them in my Birkenstocks, but that's the reason I don't have as many pairs, or as many, whatever. But I got these at a knitting pipeline several years back, and they were when she first started doing self-striping, and they were seconds because they have like 4 tiny blips of white between stripes. See that? That made it a second. That made it a second. Right. So good. But anyway, I love these socks, and it's one of these things where like every time I put the sock on, they have afterthought heels, and I did a crazy afterthought heel where I made it so usually I think with Laura Linneman's pattern you do 5 rows of stockinette like after you're set up for your afterthought heel. You do like 5 rows of stockinette before you start decreasing for the heel. Well, this time I did at least, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I did at least 10, and it's sport weight. But I love how it fits. And so that's like if you have trouble with your afterthought feels like not feeling deep enough, like if you're like across the front of your, like on the, okay, so I'm like, how do I show you a foot? Maybe with this sock that you have in your hand. So if your socks feel snug, if you're doing afterthought feel, if they feel snug here, one of the ways you can get around it is to knit a little bit deeper in your heel cuff. Also, I like shorter decreases, a shorter number of decreases, because I have really square heels. So I don't like, for example, on a 72 stitch sock, I usually only decrease my heel to 18 stitches, sometimes only 20. Because I just have a very square heel. Like a box I'm walking on. So I don't get as much depth here either. So adding length or adding rows there. You can also do short rows. Like if you don't want to add length to your sock this way. Like if you don't want to add length from heel to toe. You can do short rows. So you just do short rows around like this part. But you don't come all the way out. I don't like to purl, and that's one of the reasons I love an afterthought heel sock is because there's no purling, so I tend to just go full rows and just make my foot a little shorter. But there we go. So that's what happened though in this one is that I made my foot just a tiny bit too short. It was always perfect when I put the sock on. By the way, this sock has been worn. I apologize. That is okay to apologize for. This sock has been worn. No, it's not. This sock has been worn and then mended. So, and then worn again. Full disclosure. But so when I but isn't it look good still? Right? But when I put the sock on, it feels great. But then by the end of the day, my toes are, if I'm wearing shoes, my toes have pulled under. I say by the end of the day like I'm ever out of the house for a whole day. By the end of the grocery store run, my toe was like pulled under because it's like 1/8 of an inch too short. Now, because I knit mine toe up, I was like, it's not like I could just pick apart the Kitchener and add a few rows. I was like, oh no. Plus, I have no idea where this sock yarn is anymore. I'm sure it has been, you know, given away or whatever. Or maybe I used it all because it's a very long cuff for me. And normally, I love to be just like, oh, whatever, it's a mismatchy sock. Missy matchy? That's a weird way to say that. Whatever. So normally I wouldn't care that the toe matched or not, but this yarn is so pretty, right? Like, it's just so pretty that I wanted it to go. I wanted the toe to go. So the thought was like, okay, maybe I can just pick apart a few rows. And then I found this gray yarn that is fingering weight. It's not sport weight, but it's like a very good match, right? I had it in stash. I think it's hazelnuts or something. Oh, actually, no, I think it's diabolical. So it is actually probably Tarky, but it's fingering. Anyway, I thought, well, I'll just try to just unpick a few rows. Well, that did not work because I do yarn over increases or you knit through the back loop, and to try to take those out backwards is just not good. So what I ended up doing is cutting the toe off. So I put my needles in like a row before my toe decreases, snipped my yarn, unpicked it, and then just rejoined the yarn and knit as much as I could. So I knit like, I think it was like from here down. So I knit an extra 6 rows or so before I started toe decreases. And then I just joined in the different yarn for the toe. What I could have done is taken apart the hem and just used that yarn for the toe, but then I would have had to redo the ribbing on this, and that was like a bridge too far. I would have done it, but it was a bridge too far. Anyway, I'm happy with how this looks. And now it fits perfectly. It was literally 1/4 of an inch too short, but that is just, in your socks, that is enough, right? Okay, I need to stop drinking this because it's making me feel icky all of a sudden. My body's weird now. Anyway, so that's that. What else? So that's like, yeah, so I did a bunch of mending. That was one of the things I mended. Okay, I do have to show you this thing that was sent to me because it's amazing. Right? Like, sometimes I'm embarrassed to brag that people send things to me because that's what it feels like. It's really not that. But, you know, whatever, I'm Midwestern, I can't help it. Okay, do you remember the Wool Husband? Do you remember him? He's a kit from, I think he was the Rhinebeck 2018 Going Gnome kit, right? Okay, if you've been following the Wool Husband, this is my Wool Husband. If you've been following him, you might notice that his beard looks slightly anemic. That's because of Gus. So now Wool Husband lives in a more protected area. He has his own little refuge with the games on the game shelf. But he does look a little bit anemic because of Gus. But, okay, so are you looking at Wool Husband? Are you memorizing his... Okay, but, yeah, also but. So he's needle felted. Did I say that? Did you know? Anyway. So Going Gnome. I think it was a 2018 kit, though. Are you ready? I did not even make the connection. I got this little guy. Whoa, settle down, little guy. I got this little guy in the mail. And I was so excited about him because, hi, Gnome. He's my Wool Husband. How does this camera work? Right, do you see it? He even has orange pants with red suspenders and oh, he is him. He is he. What? I die. So he is crafted by Yarrow and Co. Eden is there. You can find her information at yarrowandco.squarespace.com. Her Instagramminess is yarrowmail44, MAIL. But how cute is that? So how amazing. I'm just going to keep looking at it. And she even made his hair modeled. Did you notice that? Did you notice that his beard is even modeled? I can't work this camera. I'm dying. Stop looking at me, camera. I know you love my face. Did you see it? That he's modeled. Oh my gosh. Dying. So I just showed you that. Other things that I've been working on. Here's my mending needle stuck into my mat here. I also finished this. So I had these little charm pack. I think I told you last time that I needed to make this little runner for our end table between our two chairs, my husband and my human husband. It's okay, well, husband, don't be jealous. And I want it to be quilted to just protect the end table, you know, the very expensive IKEA end table that's between us. But we're animals and we'll ruin everything. So I bought a charm pack. So that's the 5-inch squares. Whatever, the 5-inch squares. Is that right? Or did I buy the mini one? No, it's the 5-inch one. Isn't there one smaller even than 5? Okay, I need to stop talking. I got that. And I just did little half square triangles with it. And then, of course, since then I have fallen down the hole. Here, I'm going to be right back. I just remembered something. Okay, I'm back. No. Ow, I just stubbed my toe on my ironing board. Anyway. So, I just made these little half square triangles. And let me just discuss. I am not a quilter at all. Like, if my mother saw this, she would be okay because she's my mom. But she would also be like, points don't line up, sides don't line up. Quilting doesn't line up because, of course, if your points and lines don't line up, then your quilting's not going to line up either because it's just stitched in the ditch, but sometimes not in the ditch because there was no straight line that connected 2 points. Okay. But all that said, and I'll just discuss with you too, I didn't even enjoy making it. I mean, I kind of enjoyed it a little bit at the beginning, but then it was just like, oh, get it done. Okay. So, but then having it sit on my little table, I want to make a million more. Crafting. Why does it get us? I just love it. I love it. It's just poorly executed all around. Don't care. Still love it. So now I have fallen down a full on. I don't want to make a quilt because my mother's made us beautiful quilts for our beds. And they're gorgeous. But I do want to make quilts for all of the other flat surfaces in my home. So anyway, so I want to make all the things. Even though I'm not good at it. Whatever. So I got this little book. It's called, but I do love the idea of this whole foundation paper piecing thing. Because while I don't need my quilt to look perfect, I would like it to be just less troublesome to put together, right? Like, and if it's more squared up and nicely, the pieces are put together nicely, then it's easier to put the full thing together. And I'm imagining, especially as the size of it grows to like a tabletop, I probably need that. So I got this book. It's called Triangles on a Roll. And I love it. It's not like the fanciest book ever. But it talks about this paper piecing stuff that you buy. It's literally a roll of paper. You cut off the size that you need for the quilt, and then you sew along all the lines, and then you cut along all the lines, and then you have a million little triangles. So I may not have as much knitting and stuff because I've been looking at flying piece quilts on the internet for hours maybe. Look at this one. What? So I'm kind of afraid of having lots of these. I really love the look of them, and they have a lot of white in them. And I'm really afraid of embracing white in my home. I mean, I know I can do off-white. I know I can do dove gray. I know, well, I can do any color I wanted. I really do like the look of the white. But we are like the dirtiest animals. We're gross. We're so disgusting. I should not do white. But it looks so pretty. Anyway, this is an interesting thing about this book. It does not show you pictures of like full quilts, like photographs. It might have something like this, where it shows you like the layout of your blocks that you would put together with the bindings and things like that and the sashes. But the photographs of like each thing are just of a square. But that's totally fine with me. Because I don't really need it to be a whole quilt thing because, hi, I'm not making a whole quilt. Oh my gosh, and look at this one layout. Oh, I want that in those exact colors. And a life in which I can maintain with color white on something for more than a day. I'm not even going to lie to you. Full disclosure. I'm sorry, that was distracting us. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I bought yarn for a white sweater. What's going on with me? Like, this is me trying to think like if this is some weird function of not being well for a minute, and now I'm like trying. What's going on? I did. I bought enough yarn of Briggs and Little, so it's an affordable yarn to make a short sleeve white sweater. Or a cropped 3/4 sleeve sweater. I'm undecided. Who am I? I don't know. Out of control. Right? It's the which one is it? We're just chatting, right? It's fine. I can just go on this diversion. That's what we do. I'm totally listening to your diversions too. Oh my gosh. It's the Forbes sweater, which is a Brooklyn and Tweed yarn, or Brooklyn and Tweed pattern. I'm such a sucker for their patterns, which by the way, often do not go up to my size. Get it together, Brooklyn Tweed. It's not 1987 anymore. But this one does go up to something reasonable. I shouldn't say that. It goes up to something reasonable for me. It's ranged from 35 to 63 inches. And it is full on white sweater, texture joke. Who am I? I don't know. I'm not her. I don't. Maybe it's the fingering weight textured sweater that I'm currently working on, which I love, but is going at a snail's pace. Maybe I'm like, yes, clearly I need a white worsted weight. But short sleeve. Come on, let's be reasonable. Hi, I'm having temperature control issues. Sweater. I want all of these white quilts. Just say. All right, I'm going to show you something else. So, the reason I got on the triangle, I didn't even know the triangles on a roll thing was the thing. Like, I didn't even know that was I mean, if I would have asked, my mother could have told me everything about foundation paper piecing because she makes beautiful, I love a skinny strip pineapple quilt, which she made one of those for 2018. It's insanely gorgeous. So quilting is one of those things that I'm like, I know it exists, but my mother's really good at it. And I always get frustrated and like flip out and lose it. So I'll just leave it to her. But then I fell down a hole. I was like, a stupid fat quarter shop online had these kits, this laundry basket favorites, a linen texture collection. Okay, I got the charm pack to experiment and just to see the colors. But they have all of these kits for pillows using them. And they're all insanely gorgeous. They're all just like a different quilt block. I can't even tell you how pretty they are. But let's talk about it because, by the way, I am not endorsed by Fat Quarter Shop. Okay, so I had to go get... The reason is partly because I fell down this stupid rabbit hole. I don't know why. Because I was like looking at the flying geese and being in love with it. And then I was like, okay, I need to make more quilts for my tabletops. And so that happened. And so then I was on the internets and I was on Fat Quarter Shop just looking at charm packs, you know, as you do. And then I found this charm pack, which is Laundry Basket Favorites, a linen texture collection. And they're all just semi-solids, which I feel like I want to do because I loved it. Just stresses me out. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's just easier for me to go with a collection of things because otherwise I get stressed out, which is dumb. I know that's not the point of quilts, but I just have to own who I am right now in this minute. And that is it. Also, I don't have room for a big fabric stash. Like I have work fabric and like I cannot, I gotta limit it. Like we don't live in a big house. We have work stuff. We have knitting stuff. There's a finite amount of space. Anyway, that is all to say that I then fell down this hole. So I said, oh, that's pretty. I wonder what else they have. I wanted to make sure they had yardage that was the same because I want to be able to, you know, get binding and things that coordinate. And so when I did that, then I I fell down this hole. They have all of these stupid pillow kits and they are gorgeous. Look at this one. I'm not doing applique, y'all, but look at this one. Right? Don't you want to be a person who has that pillow in their house? And it's not, you know, been chewed on by a dog or sat on by a very dirty husband. I mean, like, you know, because he works and we're on cars and it's constantly dirty all the time. Oh, this one is so good. This one. Right? That one I really do love. Anyway, so then that turned into finding the triangle pattern piecing and then looking at all of the million ways to do flying geese quilts. And then I bought this triangles on a roll book. It's, oh my gosh. That's all I'm saying. It's all the things. But anyway, so I'm fantasizing about that. Oh, and then so when I also got up, I just want to show you my white sweater swatch. It's still wet. But whatever, I'll show it to you anyway. Right. And now I can't remember if this is Briggs & Little Regal or Heritage. But they have one that they call a DK and one that they call a worsted. But we might call the DK a worsted. We might call the worsted an Aran. Do you know what I mean? Like they're old school DK worsted. Like when I started knitting 20 plus years ago, they would have been totally DK worsted. But now we've kind of like shifted that a little bit, I think. Anyway, so there it is so far. I'm out of control. There is no control in my system. But let's talk about knitting. Let's talk about crochet. Okay, so I finished some more squares. Which where did I put it? Where? Here's my stack of squares for these 2 weeks. I was trying to go one a day, but that's obviously not happening. But maybe I should refocus that effort because it is really fun to get one thing done a day. Besides, like, this thing gets done and stays done. Unlike cooking food or cleaning things. Just saying. So there's that one with stripes. How cute is that? These are, the ones I'm showing you first are all fingering weight held double. So this is some on the round fingering weight held double with some Jameson and Smith white, like unbleached or whatever. Right? How cute are those? So cute. I think if I'm going to do fingering weight held double, it either needs to be very burly fingering weight, like a heavy fingering weight, or it needs to be fingering weight held with like a sport weight. And this Jameson is the sheep range, like the one that's all the natural sheep range colors. So it is, I think, technically a sport and not a fingering weight. That seems to work better. All right. And then look at this one. What? This is the Jameson held alongside the West Yorkshire Spinners, the Robin colorway for the holiday, because I finished my socks. How cute did that turn out? 2 of those. I love how this one is like super creepy looking because the white, so you do this, the square in the middle, and then, well, actually it would have been like this probably. Oh my gosh, I can't do frontward, backwards. You would have done the square like this, and then you go up to the next row and you go around. Well, so that's where this, so, but it made it look like there's like an offset square middle, which is very crazy and fun. You're like, whatever, shut up. And then I have some more of my hand spun ones. So this is a ply of gnome spun, right? Yeah. But then what are the going gnome? Okay, that's what the fiber people are called. Those needle felty people. Gnome spun. Oh, I should have brought Tova. Whatever. Okay. So this is a ply of gnome spun, the green, and then there's a ply of, I believe, Nest Fiber Studio Camilla Forest. I believe it was a club colorway. There's one. Look at that. Look how cute that one turned out too. And there's that one. It's so fun, the range of colors you get when they're hand spun, right? Like these are all from the same skein of yarn. And they're totally fraternal. Like, they definitely look like they belong together, but like, whoa, right? Same skein. So those are fun. Yay. This one's so pretty. Anyway, look at my little bobbies. All of them together. So pretty. So I need to devote like one bag to just maintaining the crochet squares and zip it because gosh, he already chewed the handle off of my crochet hook. Oh, no, he didn't chew it off, but he chewed off the like rubbery bits. So now let's do knitting. I have a finished object. It's true. I do. Oh, I just looked at the pillow again. It's so tempting. Oh my gosh, but let me just show you this one other pillow because I also love it. I don't know though, that it's a maze. That's the one I just showed you that's red and ochre and aqua. But there's also, they're all gorgeous. You have to buy the book to get the pattern. The pattern is not included in the kit. But it's very tempting. Look at this one. Right. With just that one little aqua square in there. And the aqua binding. Anyway. But I got this out to actually look at the pattern I needed to talk about. So I have the Ravenhill. The Ravenhill is a pattern for Aaron or DK. Oh, that's what happened. That's what happened. And it's by Tammy Gore. I'll tell you in just a second. So here's my finished object. That's the wrong side. I apologize. And that is, yeah, right? Okay, that's a thing that's happening. So this section is a skein of Hedgehog singles held double alongside a skein of mohair silk. And then this is the Cascade Aero, which was one of those blown yarns where it's just like an I-cord nylon shell with alpaca and wool into the middle. Tuffy is for my daughter, and she loves fuzzy things and she loves black. So I needed a little bit of something to keep me going color-wise. So this is really more, it's definitely like a warm black or an off black, but right, look how cute it turned out. Okay, now I'll tell you how stupid I am. So I actually do really like to have a printed pattern when I'm working on something, because as we just saw, I pick up my phone to look at a pattern and there's a quilt square there. And then I get distracted and I fall down a hole, and then like I've looked at my phone for 45 minutes. Okay. So I do really like to have a paper pattern. Also, I enjoy it's easier to cross things off and write notes and things. I do it on the fake pattern, but I like it on the paper too. So I had printed this pattern. And this is one of those funky ones where you start at you get like a thong when you start, and then you do this over here. But then this one is different because you have these two stripes over here, right? And they're short row stripes that you do kind of after this, what you would think of as the majority of the pattern is done. Okay. Well, the short row stripes, I had printed my pattern. I had gotten done with my hedgehog section and was on to the black section. And then I did not have my paper pattern. I don't know what happened. I was somewhere separated from it. And I looked at the one on the phone. And on the one on the paper, I swore up and down that it said on the little Raku section, the little hedgehog section, to do the short rows until I think there were 90 stitches left. Or to do 90 stitches. Whatever. I did the short rows. But let's say it was basically like half this many short rows, like here-ish. And then I changed to my black and went on. Well, I was looking, oh, that's what it was. I had printed my pattern. It was it was front and back. It wasn't the whole pattern though. It was I just wanted one page that was easy to take with me. And that was because I was getting ready to go on to that next page I didn't have printed. So I went on to the paper pattern to look at like, okay, what kind of bind off do I use? How many short rows do I need to do on this final black section? Okay. And then I looked at it and it said to do the short rows until you only had, so to do twice as many short rows essentially on this in this section. And I was like, wait, what? I know. And then I'm like comparing the two and I'm like, I don't remember there being an update of this pattern. And it's not like a brand new pattern. I was so perplexed. I thought, oh, it's written for Aaron and DK. Maybe I have printed one section and then I'm looking at the other section. I looked at that somehow in the moment. That did not seem what was happening. When I just looked at the pattern, that is totally what happened. So now I'm not sure if I did the edging for the Aaron or the DK. Apparently I did the edging for the DK instead of the Aaron. It's fine. I had plenty of yarn. In fact, I have a ton of the Aero left over and I still have a good chunk of the Hedgehog left over. But so your mileage might vary if you actually follow the pattern correctly. So goofy. But anyway, it was very fun to knit. These are always enjoyable because you never have the most stitches you have on is right at the very end when you pick up and do this little last edge thing. Because you do pick up these stitches for this little band I'm showing you right here. And it's weird because you're actually picking up on the wrong side, but it's garter, and so you don't really, it totally is fine. And now that especially that I've blocked it, you cannot even tell. It doesn't hurt that it was black yarn. But when I saw that I had to pick up on the wrong side, I was like, what? That's gonna look wonky. You cannot tell even. Right? Crazy. So very enjoyable. So yeah, up until you do that part, I think you only have like 85 stitches or something. That's the beauty of these like sideways boomerangy asymmetrical things is I really like to use them just more like a scarf. So they get long but not deep. And then you don't have that. You're never like, oh, Stephen West, I have 9,000 stitches on my needles. You're never like that. So yeah. And it's very fuzzy, which she's totally into fuzzy things. So yeah, she'll just wear it like this, I'm sure. That's how I would wear it. But very enjoyable. I don't know how I looked to see if there were two versions, and there clearly are on this pattern. Like literally, I just looked at it for like a second and a half and figured that out. I don't know why I couldn't figure it out the other night. So that's a finished object. And then let's talk about works in progress. Just dropped it. I cast on some new socks. They're super cute. Oh wait, no, I have another finished object because I cast on some new socks, which means I finished socks. Not always does that mean that, but in this case it does. I finished my socks from West Yorkshire Spinners. They're so cute. So just cuff down, heel flap, plain old. Aren't they super cute though? I love it. So cute. I'm smelling everything today. Maybe that's why I'm feeling a little nauseous. I feel fine now. Oh, by the way, these are my favorite thing for nausea. So these are from the Ginger People. They're called Gin-Gins. These are the ones that are like mega ultra. I don't know, what are they called? Super strength. They have lots of different varieties. This one is the one I like the most. I actually really prefer the like, there's like a it's like a yellow bag with, I think it's made in like Singapore or something. No, it's made in Indonesia. Anyway, it's not, it's not a US brand that's easily identifiable. I actually like the strength of those so much better. It's called Prince of Peace Ginger Chews. And I really like the strength of these. They are very strong. And they look like that. They're also super affordable. But I can't, the texture of them is too sticky. And I feel like I just feel like it's ripping the teeth out of my face. So this texture is more pleasant to me. It's still a chew, but it's softer or something. I don't know. But anyway, that was an aside. So cute, right? All right, so now let's go on to things. Things that are in progress. So here's a pair of socks. How fun are those? So these are opal in the frickin' friend. I don't know what that is. It's like Good Friends or something. I don't know. I read it with like a Swedish chef accent, which is probably quite offensive. I'm sorry. For real. I'm sorry. What am I looking at? It's opal. You know what it is. It's 75/25. It's a thing. But it has this fun little, I don't know why I think this looks like ostrich skin, but I just, anyway, so yay, I'm really enjoying them. They're super, I've been really jamming on the double points lately. I don't know what that's about, but I'm feeling it. I like it. So there's those. And then I also decided that I needed to cast on some rye socks. So these are the rye socks but they're modified, from Tin Can Knits. It's one of their free like learning to knit kind of patterns. But I'm doing mine toe up. And I'm using Briggs and Little Tuffy. So it's a 2-ply, 80% wool, 20% nylon. It's not super wash, heads up. But yeah, so I actually cast on another, I had a little bit more knit, but then I realized it was too big, so I had to go back, I had to go down a bit. Because again, this is a heavy worsted weight, if not an Aran or fisherman weight, whatever. So yeah, I'm just doing the toe in a contrast because I'm not sure how much yarn it's going to take for my size, ginormous foot. And also because that's kind of fun to have pink toes. So yeah, so this is one color. And this is the other color. And speaking of Briggs & Little, I get my Briggs & Little. It's a Canadian yarn, but I get it from Maritime Fibers. Now that I've said that, I need to double check. Maritime Family Fiber. And they are in Maine, I believe. It doesn't say here, but I believe they're from Maine. And they sent along a prize for you. Right? So they sent you a skein of Heritage. And then they sent you this one, which they dye there. Right? So they call this Maine High Tide Worsted. Strong wool for strong people. And this is a one-of-a-kind colorway. But isn't that pretty? I love it. And let me just discuss. This is a hand-dyed skeiny yarn. Briggs & Little is a super valuable yarn, y'all. I believe that it's like, it's less than $7 a skein. So if you need a good workhorse value yarn, I have not used it, but it's been around forever and it always has great reviews. It's not merino, so slow down. I might not want it for a hat because, again, I wear my hats all day, but that's the only thing I wouldn't want it for. But I also do like a more rustic wool. So I was just trying to see if it said how long they had been around. Anyway, super enjoyable. And look how cute those are. So we'll give those away next week to people who support the podcast financially. Right. So they sent those as a surprise. I didn't even like solicit or anything. Just sent them along because they're super cute, awesome human beings. Just saying. Now I have too many things. Let's put this here. Also in the same bag, I caked up my Knit Spin Farm Bat Vent calendar that I chain plied. Because it's, do you do this? Do you have to like, I'm like, I just need to like carry it around with me a little bit to try to figure out what it needs to be. Such a nerd. Also, I had to like cast on a little bit to see what it looked like. I had to, because I thought, well, maybe I'll knit it with a skein of the white mohair silk because that'll make it look like frosty. But it kind of dilutes the beautiful yarn at the same time. So I don't want to do that. It's such a nightmare. It's like, I think I think I'm down to either doing the symmetrical hitchhiker just because it's more narrow and it's shorter rows. Which I think might be good versus the regular hitchhiker because this has pretty short color repeats. Versus, oh, I thought I put it in here. The Hitchhiker Beyond. It has, I don't want to show you the whole thing because it does have a good amount of that pattern on the page. So by Martina Bem, the Hitchhiker Beyond has slightly, not really that much shorter though. Now I look at it. Oh, I can't decide. Or if I just want to do one of those asymmetrical triangles and then throw some lace on the edge because I'm a Victorian lady now and I want some white lace on my Christmas yarn. I don't know who I am, y'all. I just don't know. And then the only other thing I have to show you is my sweater by Locatelli that begins with an S. And sometimes we also call that Sammal. Sammal? S-A-M-M-A-L. By Locatelli. This is in Brooklyn Tweed fingering weight in the Hayloft color. And I know it doesn't look like I have much more, but I do. Also, I can't hold my knitting today. Look at how pretty it is. It smells so good. Did I use like a crazy hand lotion when I was knitting this? It smells amazing. Right. It's so pretty. I got to work on that a little bit more these 2 weeks. This is going to be a longer term project, y'all. Okay. It is so gorgeous, though. Looking at it again like, oh, let's go work on it right now. And I'm enjoying that still. Her pattern is love, of course. Hohi's patterns are always lovely, well-written patterns. I wouldn't expect anything less. So yeah, I think that's all. Did we chat for like forever? It feels like I just was like, no holds barred today. Just gonna talk forever. I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!